Hey families, I'm beginning in a very weird place today. I'm beginning at this big hole. It's in a room downstairs in the basement of church called the furnace room, and it's called that because you can see we have four very large furnaces that heat the church during the wintertime and two other furnaces that heat the basement. But I'm at this funny big hole that has a lot of pipes in it, and the reason for that is it's a sump pump crock. I want to show it to you. Take a look. It's really deep. I'm going to guess that that's about 9 feet deep. If I were to go in there, I would barely be able to reach the top. The reason I'm showing you this today is because I want to talk about holes today. So I'm going to put this in the tripod, and while I'm putting it in the tripod, I'd like you to think about a question I have. Have you ever dug a really big hole or seen a really deep hole? Like maybe you built one, maybe you were building a castle at the beach and you dug a super deep hole. Or maybe you went to a construction site, they were building a new house and you got to see the big hole that they dug. Or maybe your family was planting a tree and your dad went outside and he dug a really deep hole. Talk for a minute about holes that you might have seen. And I'll be right back while I put this camera in the tripod. The story I want to talk about today is the story of Joseph and his brothers. Joseph was a young man, and we're going to learn about him. Isaac had a son called Jacob, and Jacob had 12 sons of his own. He loved his son Joseph the best. Jacob gave Joseph a beautiful coat. All his brothers were jealous. One night Joseph had a dream. I dreamt that we were out in the fields, he told his brothers. Your bundles of corn were bowing down to mine. Brothers got so fed up with what they thought was Joseph's boastful talking that they plotted to kill him. They threw Joseph into a well and told their father he had been killed by a wild animal. Maybe you can see that picture of Joseph being thrown into the well. Joseph maybe wasn't doing the best thing by telling his brothers the dream that he had. He might have thought that it might make them sad or jealous that their father seemed to like him better than them. But his brothers certainly didn't react well either. What a horrible thing to put somebody in a dark well like that and to make them be all alone. And then, later on, to pretend that he was dead and tell their father that he was dead and sell him as a slave. Wow, that would be just awful. Has anybody ever done something awful to you? Maybe somebody was mean to you at school. Maybe they pushed you or yelled at you. Or maybe they said something mean about you. Or maybe you got mad at one of your brothers or sisters because they took one of your toys or did something you didn't want them to do. Talk for a minute about a time when you were really mad, when you were really angry. We're going to take a little journey now. We're going to go away from the hole and we're going to climb up the stairs and go into the church. Come with me. Here we go. I want you to see something. Joseph could have hated his brothers and wished they were dead too. But you know what? He didn't, because he believed God had a bigger plan. He believed that God was taking care of him, that he was watching over him, and that he could be all right, even though his brothers had done such a horrible thing. I'm in the church now, and I want you to see something. See that beautiful cross? It just blazes right through the darkness. Jesus coming to earth and dying and rising for us blazes through the darkness. When we are angry, or when we are afraid, or when we are lonely, maybe we feel like we're in a hole, but we need to know that Jesus is always with us. Always with us. When I look at that stained glass window, it almost looks like outstretched arms that are reaching out to give me a big hug. And that's how it is with Jesus. When we're sad or lonely or afraid, he wraps his loving arms around us. Joseph had some really bad things that happened to him, and his brothers were awfully mean. But God had a plan. And we're going to learn about that tomorrow. God's great plan that rescued Joseph and also rescued his brothers and his father. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow. In the meantime, I'd like you to join hands in a circle again, and I'd like you to pray that God would help you whenever you are angry, that you would forgive the person who made you angry, or that maybe God would take your anger away. And I'd also like you to pray for times when you feel like you're in a hole, when you're sad or afraid, that God would also bless you and give you strength so that you can get out of your hole. We're going to talk more about Joseph tomorrow. Thanks for being with us today.